Welcome into The Film Doesn't Lie. My name is Trey. I got a couple new guests with me today. The better parts of NBA cast. My boy Steve. What's up, Steve?
What up? What up? Thanks for having me.
My best friend Chris Graham. What's up, Chris?
What's going on, Trey? Thanks for having me.
So usually I have my better part, Marcus Bryant, on the show with us, but some stuff came up tonight, so we got the better parts of NBA cast with us. Usually on this show, if you didn't know, we go over the best film from the best players in the country. Usually it's football. Tonight's going to be basketball. We're going to do a little bit of a mock draft and go over some of the top players in this upcoming draft. So, a little background. We got Steve. Go ahead and show your shirt.
All right, I'm a Kings fan.
He's one of the few Kings fans out there. So, if you see him,
It's been rough. It's been rough.
Chris is over here. He's a Memphis fan, so he's enjoying life right now. They're struggling in the playoffs, but he at least gets to watch the playoffs.
Yeah, hopefully it turns around in the next couple games, but we'll see. Future's bright.
So for those who don't know, the NBA has a little bit of different way of drafting. They have this thing called the lottery. The lottery is basically like bingo. You put a bunch of ping pong balls into a receptacle, and they start turning it. And if you get any combination of numbers and it matches up to your team, you get that pick. Usually, it only matters if you get a top 4 pick, and then if you don't, you just fall in line where you were. But today, we're going to be doing things a little bit different. We have the website called Tankathon, which simulates the draft lottery for us. And that's how we're going to decide who's going to be picking what. So let's go ahead and try to see who the draft order is. All right. So it looks like this one would be very interesting. We got Washington with the number 1 pick, Sacramento with the number 2 pick, Portland with number 3, and then Orlando falls to number 4. That would be a very spicy draft. Steve, as a Sacramento fan, what's going through your mind if you get that?
Oh, I'm pumped. I'm thinking playoffs. I'm thinking playoffs within this year or next year. But then again, I've also been thinking playoffs the last 10 years, so we'll see.
They usually mark you guys as a dark horse.
Yep.
So this is how we're going to be drafting. So we're going to start with Chris, and then it's going to go to Steve, of course, because he is Mr. Sacramento. Then I'll be picking for Portland. Then Chris will be picking for Orlando, and so on and so forth. And this would be a big thing because most people, I don't even know who Washington would pick because they need so much.
Yep.
And you don't know how they're building this their team right now, because do you build around Bradley Beal? Are you building around just restarting? Maybe you try to trade Beal, get more draft capital.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we're going to figure out how Chris decides to pick him.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have the number 1 pick and you're a team like Washington where you just need a little bit of everything, I think you just go with the safe pick and just take the best available. And you just take Jaden Ivey, whether or not you're going to plug him in around Bradley Beal, or Bradley Beal is going to be gone and he's your guy going forward. He reminds me a lot of like an Anthony Edwards. And Anthony Edwards has absolutely shown out and shown that he's that next guy up. So I think Washington would be hard-pressed not to take a guy like Jaden Ivey.
Jaden Ivey's such a, he's a hit or miss prospect for me because we know what he could do on offense.
Yep.
He's crazy talented on offense. But he kind of becomes a liability on defense, which this is the NBA. Who cares about defense anymore, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're a superstar on offense, defense is like, okay, whatever.
Yep.
Just be decent. Don't be good, but be decent.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you who's going to be pretty mad about this draft order, though. Those poor Orlando Magic fans, or as we like to call them, the Tragic.
Yep.
For those who don't know, My co-host on this show, Marcus Bryant, Mr. NBA Cast. He is an Orlando Magic fan. And it's been so sad that he won't be able to be with us tonight, but we're going to try to do his team justice. Correct, gentlemen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Christian Graham, you do have the first pick of this draft. And with the first pick, the Washington Wizards select two.
Jaden Ivey.
Jane Ivey out of Purdue. So what went into that thinking?
Like I said, I mean, I think Washington just needs to take the best available player. Um, I think they're trying to go for a home run here. Whether or not they're going to be replacing Bradley Beal or running Jaden Ivey along with Bradley Beal, kind of like what they wanted to do with John Wall a few years ago. Try to maybe go back to that. So that's kind of my thinking with, I mean, if you have the number one pick, I think it's going to be hard for any team to pass up on Jaden Ivey.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So Jane Ivey, he is a high volume scorer, great offense,
Yep.
shaky defense, but he could absolutely be all star one day. So that would be a solid number one pick for a team trying to reestablish what they are.
Yeah, he
Now,
reminds me a lot like Ja Morant, to be honest. I know he
ooh,
used
that's
I know he used Anthony Edwards, but if you watch his game, the way he can finish, the way he can rise above, the way he can take it to the lane, I mean, his shooting it's a lot like Ja Morant, honestly.
that's high praise.
It is, but I've watched him, and his offensive game is up there with Jaws, like coming in as a rookie.
All right, so you heard it here first. Killer Miller, Stephen Miller says Jane Ivey's the next John Morant.
Yep,
But now we move on to the number two pick. Number two, the Sacramento Kings.
yep,
Steven, you want to take it from here?
yep. I will definitely go Jabari Smith. I will go Jabari Smith at 2 with no hesitation. And the reason being, obviously, the Kings got De'Aaron Fox already, and we just traded for Sabonis. We have Davion Mitchell coming off the bench. We could go two ways with this. We could either get a shooter, a knockdown shooter like Shaden Sharp, or we go get a big to match with Sabonis and get Jabari Smith, who could also extend the floor. Because that's something we're missing. We're missing shooting, and Jabari Smith was a low 40 to a high 30% 3-point shooter.
Yeah, absolutely. Jabari Smith does everything so well. The
Yeah,
only thing people really question about him is his high end athleticism and his first step.
yep,
He when you go for a player like that, his floor is so high that you know the buzz potential is very low.
yep.
Um, Personally, I think you could have also gone with like Keegan Murray if you wanted to do what
Uh,
Steve was talking
I,
about. But when you have the talent like Jabari Smith on the board, you have to take that.
yeah, I don't. Murray at 2 is too high, in my opinion.
Absolutely. All right, so we move on to pick number three, the Portland Trailblazers, which is another team kind of in the transition phase. They say they're trying to build around Damian Lillard, but Dame is starting to get up there in age,
Mhm.
and you got to figure out how to get the best package or the best player to fit to get him his back into playoff contention. And for this, you see what this team needs. They need almost a little bit of everything except for a three. Personally, I think a great fit for him would be something he's never really had, which is a super athletic big. So I would go Paulo Banchero out of Duke. Paulo has a crazy game, crazy upside. He's another one where his athleticism is good to great, and I think he would match up perfectly with Dame, especially on pick and rolls, and he would be a problem for most of the West.
Yep.
All right, so now that we got Palo off the board, we go to the Orlando Tragic. I would hand this over to Mark, but again, he is not with us. So, Mr. Graham, would you like to take this pick in honor of Marcus Bryant?
Yes, I will. And I'll draft a player that I know that he would love. Chet Holmgren out of Gonzaga.
Honestly, you don't even think twice about this pick.
Nope.
You have so much upside on that player. 7 feet tall, has a nice stroke from behind the 3 point line, and great defense. Honestly, great rim protector.
Yep.
The only question he has is his weight.
Yes. He will get bullied.
And and Orlando has so many cards already. Like they need to get big. Mobamba, you might as well just move on from him. Like he
Yep.
barely plays. That was it's been known that that was a waste of a draft pick. You might as well just let him go. Go with Chet now
Yep.
and move on.
Exactly. So they also have Franz Wagner that actually had a great rookie
Yep.
year.
Yes, he
A lot
did.
of people were championing for him to be rookie of the year, but I think Chet would find a nice home in Orlando, hanging out at Disney World. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we're going to go ahead and move on to the Rockets, who fall to number 5 here, which for them would be kind of a steep fall considering they had the worst record in the league.
Yep.
Um, this is worst case scenario in their minds. But Steve, go ahead and tell me who you would pick if you were the Rockets to fit around that young core.
So obviously they got two good guards. They got Porter and they got Green that they're going to build around. They got Christian Wood. So what I would do, it may be a little high, but
Mm-hmm.
I would go Jalen Durant
Ooh, I was actually thinking the same thing.
because he had a really good game against Chet Holmgren, who is arguably the best player in this class. In the was it Elite Eight? I want to say it was the Elite Eight, or
I
no,
think it was somewhere around there. Either
Sweet
that or in
16.
the regular
Sweet 16.
season.
It was a
Yeah,
Sweet 16. Yeah, he bullied Holmgren the whole first half, and then after that, Gonzaga sped up the pace, and then they got tired and all that. But he definitely has a promise of being an all-star caliber guard in the NBA.
absolutely. He has great defense. Memphis didn't have the season they thought they were going to have, but they were able to rebound
Yep.
and build around him. So he definitely could be a stalwart for in the post.
Yep.
Um, so now we move on to Detroit Pistons, which we look at their team needs. They need everything. The only thing
Mm-hmm.
I probably wouldn't mess with is point guard because of
Cunningham.
exactly. You already have your piece you're building around. So for them, they have guys like
Mm.
Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart Array kind of
Yep.
in the backcourt. So I would probably try to go 3 here, and it would be for me in between AJ Griffin or Keegan Murray. I would probably go Keegan Murray just because more of a he's going to fit a certain role. He may not
Yep.
be a star one day, but you know what you're going to get from him.
Yep.
So he's going to be a great 3-and-D player. He's going to be able to play some bigs and small ball lineup, and I think he'll be a solid pick for for Detroit.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's a great pick.
All right, so now we move on to another team that just seems to be collecting young talent. We go to OKC, um, and I hand it off to Chris. What do you think OKC would do in this position at number 7?
Hmm. It's so hard to say because they have so many young guys. They're one of those teams where it's hard to say like what do they
Mm-hmm.
really need. Um, this is a tough one for me. I feel like again they might just go best
Mm-hmm.
available. And for spot, I think that's Johnny Davis out of
Ooh, that's a high
Wisconsin.
volume scorer right there.
Yep.
So I think it. You know, what pick are we at now? 7. I think it would be hard to pass up a Johnny Davis at 7. So I think I would go with Johnny Davis out of
Yep.
Wisconsin here.
Absolutely, that's a big time player. He showed in matchups against guys like Jaden Ivey that he is a top talent for this draft, and he was scoring like 30 points a game in those games,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
especially on a Wisconsin team where you are the pretty much only major threat on offense.
Yep. And he was getting boards too. He's only like 6'4", and he was averaging like 7, 8 boards a game, I think.
So we move on to pick number 8 with Indiana Pacers, and Steve is going to go ahead and pick this one. This one's kind of interesting for him since the Kings actually sent some of their top talent over there for Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah. This one's tough because I don't know. I don't think there's any high value like bigs because that's what they need. They need a big,
Hmm.
and I do not see any like valuable bigs here. Um,
Yeah, the next real big would be probably in the 20 to 25 range. You
yeah.
could
So
also see them maybe take a reach or maybe try to trade back in the situation.
I mean, they do have Miles Turner. I forget about him because he missed
Hmm.
almost like most of the year last year. But I would probably go best available, and I go Shaden Sharp.
That's a high value pick right there at
Yes, it
number
is.
8.
Hmm.
He missed
So
practically all year for at Kentucky. He's a knockdown shooter, and I mean, his athleticism is through the roof.
absolutely,
Yep.
he gamed Kentucky. He got to play high school basketball in the fall and winter, then came to Kentucky in the spring. Told them he was going to stay, and then he bounced to the NBA.
Yep.
Some say he has the highest potential in this draft because he would be number one pick next year.
Hmm.
Some are scared of him because they don't know exactly how he'll transition against better talent outside of high school.
Yeah.
But now we move on to a real team. Um, with the number 9 pick, we go to the New Orleans Pelicans, which was kind of the shocker of the West this year, seeing that they had went from a 1-12 record all the
Yep.
way back up to the 8 seed in the playoffs. And for this one, it's kind of hard to say exactly one thing that they really need because they have a solid roster right now. I would probably try to find someone who could play the 2 or 3 just to add some extra offense, but he still has to be a defensive player. And I would have to go Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona with this pick. Benedict Mathurin is a high value offensive scorer. He can play off ball, but he also has the length to play great defense.
Yep.
That's a great pick. I was thinking the same thing.
So I think the Pelicans with Benedict Mathurin, he just fit right in with what they're trying to build on defense first and then offense after that. But now we move on to the team a little bit to the west of New Orleans in San Antonio. In San Antonio, what do you think they need, Chris?
Um, Honestly, I think they need leadership on their team. I feel like ever since losing Kawhi and losing their big three, um, they've been searching for that next man who's going to be up and that next guy who can just really be a floor general. Um, we know that Popovich loves having that guy who he can rely on. I mean, we're not sure if Popovich will be coaching
Mm-hmm.
next year or not, but let's assume. He likes those kind of guys that can take command on the floor and just really be that leader, that guy to step up. So that's why I think San Antonio right here will go with Ochai Ojaji out of Kansas.
The Kansas guy, huh, Chris?
A guy, of course. I mean, the guy who led his team to a ring. I mean, what can you say? It's hard to pass up on
Fair
him.
enough. Like Chris did say, he is a champion. Kansas did win the national championship this year. You can never have too many winners.
Nope.
All right. So we go to the cesspool of the NBA, the New York Knicks.
Oh, boy.
Killer, I'm sorry you have to pick for them, but who would you go with at number 12 for or number 11 for a team that needs so much?
So who I would go with? I can't see the draft board, and I'm losing the names. So,
So, what we got AJ Griffin at number 8 right now. He's a small forward from Duke. Dyson Daniels out of the G League Ignite, originally from Australia. Usman Jang from the New Zealand Breakers, 6'10", power forward or small forward. We got Jeremy Sohan from Baylor, 6'10", out of for power forward.
because I'm thinking point guard. They need a point guard.
They still got Ty Washington out there.
Man, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to go Tai Tai though. Tai Tai, he's too limited. His shooting ability is not there yet.
They they also have Mark Williams, the big from Duke, because I think they will be losing Mitchell Robinson this year to free agency.
Gotcha. Yeah, I did like Mark Williams. He's a good rim. I mean,
And they do have Kennedy Chandler still out there from Tennessee, which a lot of people are higher on than most of these pro prospects.
yeah. Um, I would, man, I would probably go. I'd probably have to go Mark Williams if I was the Knicks. If you're losing Mitchell Robinson, you bring in Mark Williams. He's basically what Mitchell Robinson is, except with a better offensive game.
Absolutely, Mark Williams is a very safe pick at that point,
And he's
especially
young
since
with
he's
a
going to
very
bring
high
in
upside.
exactly he's going to bring in great length and defense.
Yep.
All right, so we move on to pick number 13 or 12, sorry, and it's OKC again. So we already had OKC drafting. Who was it before?
I believe I had them taking
Yep.
Johnny Davis.
Johnny Davis. So we just had scoring at the 2 position, and we already got Shea Gilders Alexander at the 1. Josh Giddey also playing
Yep.
more of a guard role.
Same with Lou Dort.
Lou Dort, though, he could play that 3-4 because of his length. So for them, I would probably have to go like at least a 3 or a 4, since now Mark Williams is off the board now because he would have been another safe pick for them. So I would probably go Jeremy Sohan out of Baylor, 6'10", power forward. And when you get a Baylor kid, it's a pretty much a safe pick. They're going to play great defense,
Yep.
and they're going to have at least some type of offensive game.
Yep. Just like Davion Mitchell.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good pick. I'd be torn between him or Jalen Duren.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when you pick a kid from a winning program, you already have high upside. So I feel like that's a safe
Yeah.
pick for them. So we're coming down the stretch now. Only a couple more picks. AJ Griffin is still on the board at this point, which is kind of crazy because a lot of people see him as a top 5 talent because of his shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And at number 13, we have the Charlotte Hornets, who already have their point guard situation pretty much figured out, but could use pretty much anything else, especially since they're trying to get rid of guys like Kelly Oubre and that Gordon Hayward contract. But
Yep.
who would you go with, Chris, at number 13?
I think here's where you got to go with AJ Griffin. You just take the best available. The fact that he would slide all the way down to 13. I mean, I don't know if that would happen, but if it did, you'd up on that kind of talent at 13.
But that's the thing with the NBA draft. You never know because everything got thrown off because the Kings got moved all the way up, and so did the Blazers.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like this draft, by the way. I hope it
in
happens.
Washington. Of course you do. You got a top 10 or you got a top 3 talent
Yep.
for nothing.
Exactly.
But Killer, do you want to go ahead and finish us out with the Cleveland Cavaliers, which have a pretty good young roster, a mix of young and old. They don't have a lot of big needs, but who would you go with at this point?
I just go with the guy that not too many people know about, Dyson Daniels.
Ooh, Dyson Daniels from G League Ignite. He originally was from Australia. Great ball handling. Very long prospect. He's great on defense. Athleticism is a little bit of unknown, but I think that's a solid pick at 14 to close out the lottery. So let's go ahead and look at a summary of what we have. We had number 1, Chris's pick with Jaden Ivey, which everyone says he's a top 4 talent, so he definitely, with a great pro day, everything like that, could slide back up.
Yep.
Jabari Smith at number 2 for the Kings. That's Killer's wet dream right there. Paolo Banchero to the Blazers. I think Dame would be very happy about that, getting another solid player, and hopefully they can figure something out in free agency to continue to build. Number 4, Chet Holmgren, the Fighting Tragic for Marcus Bryant. Get their get their franchise player. Number 5, the Rockets, Jalen Duran, and you just add another young talent. Hopefully, at some point, this young talent gets a little bit more mature and turns into a solid team. Number 6, Keegan Murray. I think that would be a solid fit in Detroit.
Yep.
He great 3D player, and that's what you need to build around Cade Cunningham. Number 7, Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin, another very high volume scorer. He would be a great add to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Josh Giddey, especially since both of them kind of need the ball in their hands.
Yep.
Number 8, Shane Sharp. Some people would say if this happened, the Pacers definitely would have won the draft since they got someone who a lot of people deem as the top talent in the draft.
Yep.
Number 9, Benedict Mathurin. I think he would be a great fit in New Orleans. I wouldn't be mad at all seeing him there. Number 10, how you say his name, Chris?
Oh, Ochai Agbaji.
What Chris said.
Agbaji. So I even have a hard time saying it.
Out of Kansas. Again, Pop is a winner, so he picked a winner. So that's, again, I think that's a solid pick. Number 11, Mark Williams. When you get that type of talent at number 11, I think that's solid, especially when you're filling a need. And unfortunately for him, he has to go to that team. But the Knicks win in that situation. Number 12, Jeremy Sohan out of Baylor. I think that one, I would have to see the fit. I know I'm the one who picked him, but I think he would be solid in OKC, especially building around that young core, trying to figure out what they're going to do. The number 13, AJ Griffin, which would be a steal at that point. Yep. You're building around LaMelo Ball, someone who doesn't need the ball in their hands and shot 45% from 3 last year. And that would be easy assist for LaMelo. And closing out with Dyson Daniels at 14 for Cleveland. And that's a high value player, overseas player that a lot of people are still trying to figure out his complete game and athleticism. But he has great length and he's a playmaker. So I think we did a good job, gentlemen.
Yep. I hope it happens. Like I said, if the Kings get 2, I'm gonna be so happy. I'll be the happiest Kings fan I've ever been in like the last, I don't know, I think since I was in middle school.
So I still remember when we got the number 1 pick for Zion, and I was actually texting Chris because his team is Memphis and they got number 2. Mm-hmm. And they went to commercial break right before they picked between us two, and we're like, holy crap. One of us is getting, or both of us are good, top 2 picks. One of us is getting Zion, the other is getting Ja. And well, we all know with the story after that. I'm saying right now Chris won that one, but we'll see next year.
I mean, either way, neither of us were upset at the time.
But hopefully the lottery goes a little bit different and it's not that spicy. But I would love to see Chet Holmgren in Orlando. I feel like that's just a perfect fit.
It'll probably happen, just not the way that we have it. Because I don't see Chet lasting to pick 5? I think we had him at?
He's at 4.
4, yeah.
I think
it depends on what team gets up there. Because I could see Washington going that way just because they're trying to find a new identity.
I think Washington will trade out of that. I do not think, with all the talent on there, I think they would want to get out of that and drop to like 4 or 5.
What would you trade, though? Who would want to move up? That's the question.
I don't know. You'd probably try to trade Beal and just and probably get another lottery
Beal
pick.
And the number 1? Oh my goodness! What are you giving up for that?
To get like 2 lottery picks or something.
I don't know. That's you.
Well, remember though.
I'll take that trade.
Remember though, because even if they get somebody, I don't think they're like, even if they get their guy, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this upcoming year, even with Beal. So why not get rid of him, dump that salary, and then when free agent comes around next season, there's going to be some big names in there, and then you could go try to get them.
Who's going to go to Washington?
I don't know. Maybe if they start building.
I mean, KD's from Washington. He didn't even give them a real look.
That's true. So I don't know.
My thing is, if you offer me the number one pick and Bradley Beal, I'm taking it. That's easy
Well, I mean, they're
for
not
a
going to
couple
just say
lottery picks.
they're not going to say just the lottery picks. They're going to be it's going to be more than just that. I guarantee it.
Okay.
You're going to have to swap a player or two as well.
I just know that to
They
move
would have
from what was it 3 to 4 when in the draft with Trey Young and Luka Doncic, um, it was like a first round or like 2 first rounds to move up to just one spot. So
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what would happen with that
I mean,
with the All
NBA
Star
is
player and the number one pick.
yeah, NBA is not like NFL where they value the picks as much. Like a first round pick in the NFL is like very valuable compared to in the NBA.
I don't know, but in a draft where you got so much talent in the top, it's so top heavy.
Hmm.
Even though it's a super deep draft, it's so top heavy. Like I can honestly see anyone from, I would say from Jane or from Chet Holmgren, who everyone has as the number one player,
Hmm.
all the way down to like Shane Sharp, who everyone has as like around number 6 or 7 player. Anywhere in there, anyone can go number one and just fall differently. That's what's so interesting about this draft. There is no like, I'm going to draft Cade Cunningham number one and then Jalen Green number two.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you got like 4 guys that are vying for that first and second spots.
So I'm very interested in seeing
Yeah.
what happens with this draft. If it happens the way, like we said, you saw it here first. We call it the curse of Killamilla, but if
The Kings gonna end up like the 9th pick now.
I would love that, Chris. I would love that because if the Kings stay there, I feel like last year's draft there wasn't really any movement.
No.
Like there was only a movement at the top. I feel like we're due for a lottery where someone just moves all the way up from like 8, 9, 10, or 11, all the way up into the top 4.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the NBA draft special.
Yep.
You just because you have the worst
Yeah.
record doesn't mean you're guaranteed anything.
I know. You could tank
Yep.
all you want and end up with a 7th pick.
And
Just asking Magic every
Yeah.
year.
and I just want to give a special shout out to the Los Angeles Lakers. Thank you for taking that bum Tony from us and giving us this top 10 pick this year. And hopefully the Pelicans keep building.
Yep.
But I want to thank you both for coming on the show with us. I think we created something real nice here.
Yep.
And hope you both come back on. Hopefully next time we have the complete NBA cast crew. And again, gentlemen, thank you and peace.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
All right, and thanks everyone else for watching the show. You know where we are. The Film Doesn't Lie under Liftoff County Prep YouTube. Like, follow, and subscribe. All love. Thanks for watching.